This is the Russian dynamite, Masha Slamovich.
Becca here.
This is not America's sweetheart, Davian.
It's Billy Starks. And
the super fly guy, Trayvon Jordan.
This is the fly side flyer, Jalen Brandon.
Hardcore princess, Jules Malone.
Hi there, this is the bubblegum princess, Alexia Nicole.
This is the Brazilian Wonder Woman, Christy Jane.
This is the baddest black belt, Chennai Kai.
This is Kid Bandit.
The smash hit, Joel Bateman.
This is Robin Renegade.
Cody Hawk.
Brutal Bob Evans. And you are listening to Wrestling with Entertainment, one of my favorite podcasts in the whole wide world.
This is the Blood Countess, Sabrina Kyle, and you're listening to Wrestling with Entertainment.
Hello, and welcome to the show. It's Wrestling with Entertainment, the only audio experience on the web today. The trusted choice for interviewing all your favorite wrestlers every Tuesday and Wednesday for over 200 episodes on YouTube and Castbox, sponsored by Rogue Energy and Player One Coffee. I am, of course, your host, James J., and it is a great day for wrestling because we are wrestling with the Blood Countess, Sabrina Kyle.
Hi.
How are you, Sabrina?
I'm doing okay. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for coming on. And where can we find the Blood Countess next?
So my school is running their first show called W is for Wrestling. It's in Cambridge at Rhythm and Brews on August 11th. It's a 19 plus event. Tickets can be purchased through e-transfer or at my school. Yeah, that's my next show. And then I'm in Michigan for Northwest Championship Wrestling on the 28th of... Well, this is coming out after that. Sorry, my bad. I'm on IPWA on the 12th as well in Simcoe, Ontario. So those are my two upcoming shows in August. I'm trying to cut back a bit because I have the school and everything going on.
Right.
I'm also on Instagram. You can find me. Just type in the Blood Countess Sabrina Kyle and I'll come up. I use that more than anything. And I am also on TikTok.
Right. And merchandise?
So I do have t-shirts. I'm getting low on t-shirts and 8x10s and stickers. You can find all that stuff posted on my socials.
All right. And you don't even have to go looking for her social media. All of the links to all her social media will be in the description of the video below, both on YouTube and Castbox. Alright, let's get into it. You work for Courage Pro Wrestling and 365. Can you tell us about your relationship with those companies?
Yeah, so I actually work for a lot of places. I've worked for 365 on and off since I started my wrestling career. One of my first matches ever was for 365 when they were PWA. I wrestled Portia Perez on that event. That was in 2007. I've been with Courage Pro since they started up. I was the longest reigning heavyweight champion. I recently lost an I Quit match to Daddy Davis, but I have a really good relationship with them as well. I also help with all of the female talent in Courage Pro Wrestling.
All right. And can you tell us about your school, Off the Rope Studio?
Yeah, so I opened Off the Rope Studio 2 years ago in October during the ending of COVID. So it was kind of a rough start, but it was something that I felt was really important to do, to offer a place that was safe for everyone, and to offer a space that was, I was able to offer just women's training with women only in the building. I don't know how many other places offer that. Yeah, I mean, now it's more of a community now. We have kids classes. We train kids from 5 to 13. They're in split classes though. The younger kids are in one class and the older kids are in another class. We also do co-eds and, like I said, just women's only classes.
Now, like you said, it is women's only. You've done women's only, and you own it. so it's women's owned for women, and I believe it's the first ever in Canada, correct?
Yeah, to my knowledge, I did a lot of research before I stated that. To my knowledge, it is the first and only female-owned wrestling school in Canada. So yeah, I do offer women's classes, but I think a lot of people sometimes think that we don't train men as well. We do train men. My partner Jeff Black and my friend Lenny Lilac train the co-ed classes. So we do have a group of men that train with us as well.
But I mean, what does it mean to you to be the first?
I mean, when I decided to open it, that wasn't even in my mind. I didn't even think about that until I was opening it, and I was like, oh, this could be something that I could put on the website, or it's a pretty big accomplishment, and I didn't think about it until after. But I mean, like, it was very difficult because it's a male-dominated industry. It'll always be a male-dominated industry, and so it was difficult because I'm not one of the boys anymore. I think they don't think of me that way anymore. So it was kind of like, I don't know how to explain it. It was kind of just like, I'm doing my own thing now. It's more important to me to train the next generation of people than to be popular with the current generation of people, if that makes sense.
Gotcha. And I am curious to know, you were trained back in 2005. That was the Wild West days of pro wrestling. So how do you, adjust the way you were trained to train the new generation?
So I was very fortunate. My trainers weren't like a lot of the other trainers around that took advantage of or essentially beat up their students, right? I was trained by the executioner, Ernie Moore, who was an amazing man and always looked out for me. I was also very young. I was only 15 years old when I started training. And my main trainer, Reggie Marley, as well, always looked out for me. He didn't ever take advantage or try and make me quit or anything like that, which was very common back then. But my training style is a little bit different. I try and boost confidence. Like, when somebody walks through the door, I want them to leave more confident than when they walked in. So I approach it as like, it's a skill and it takes a long time to learn certain things. Also, I look at it as like, I'm not better than anybody that comes into my school. Just because I'm training them, I know a little bit more about wrestling than they do, but we're all equally respected. I respect them the same amount they respect me. And I think that's a lot different than how some people train or coach, and how wrestling definitely was when I first started. I do have a hard time with how, like, I've earned respect within the community, but I feel as if the veterans now don't see the same amount of respect in a locker room as they did when I first started. And that, that does upset me to a degree, because, we paved the way for a lot of people, but that's a whole different thing. But yeah, the way I train people is they're my friends, they're my students, but they're my friends. And, we don't only hang out in the wrestling school. We also do a lot of things out of the wrestling school together. So
you went to meet Medieval Times, correct?
Yeah, the girls did a Medieval Times trip last year. We also did the Paris night market for their Halloween. They did a Halloween night market. We did that. We've done like the movies or just getting together.
That's very interesting, because that's not something like every school does. You don't see, the coaches going out with the students afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's important to me because, like I said, we're more of a community, right? Like, we have each other's back. Like, some of my students don't have a ton of friends. So having that community and having that group of people that they can go out with and being able to help that, if I can help, then why not? Like I said, I'm not better than anybody. We all respect each other. So why not hang out, every once in a while on a weekend?
has training the next generation of pro wrestlers changed your perspective on pro wrestling or your career?
No, but I do realize now that the style of wrestling is a lot different than the style when I started, which that happens all the time, right? It's always changing or evolving, or something's popular and then it's not, and then it comes back and it's popular again. Um, so I've noticed the style that people are most interested in is different than what I work.
Right.
But no, it hasn't really changed me or my perspective at all.
Now, I am curious because words interest me. It is called Off the Rope Studio. I'm just curious why you chose the word studio rather than academy, training school, or something more associated with wrestling.
So we decided to go with studio because, one, we wanted to stand out from other schools or whatever in the area. Like when you type in our name, like we come up, right? But we also do we offer our space for photography and stuff like that. So, it is like a studio.
Okay.
We also have it set up like a studio. Like we have blacked out walls, we have ring lights, we have lights, smoke, sound, everything in there. So when you walk in, it doesn't necessarily look like a wrestling academy, right?
Okay, I gotcha.
But it just, to me, it stood out. It was different from everyone else, so that's why we decided to go with it.
And where can we find all things Off the Rope Studio? The website, social media, for anybody that's interested in getting trained by you.
So the website is offtheropes.ca. We are on Instagram, Off the Rope Studio. We have a TikTok, Off the Rope Studio. Facebook as well. We're on there. There's also some articles and stuff on the CTV News website about us. There's quite a few. So, we're pretty easy to find if you're looking.
And I will make it even easier and putting all the links for Off the Rope Studio in the description of the video below for on YouTube and Castbox. Alright, and you mentioned that at the top, you're having your first ever show, W is for Wrestling. What does that kind of mean to you to have, first your school and now producing your first event with them?
So this is our first independent event. We have done open streets for the city. We've done some stuff with the city, and we also just recently did a really big event with the punk rock flea market. But this is our first independent show. This show is to showcase our students and what they can do. So it's really important to us to be able to provide somewhere for them to wrestle in front of a crowd and show off what they can do.
And that's August 9th, correct?
It's August 11th.
11th, my bad. Now, you were the Courage Pro Wrestling Champion, which was technically, the heavyweight championship, the men's title. And you held it for nearly 1,500 days. What did something like that mean to you?
That was a really big accomplishment for me. I never thought that, especially when I was starting out, women didn't do that kind of stuff, right? It hasn't become more popular. Intergender wrestling hasn't become more popular for the past, I would say, maybe 7 or 8 years. So it meant a lot to me. I was the face of a company, and they, had enough faith in me to put me in that position. I got to wrestle a lot of really great people, and I think just being a role model for like younger girls, seeing that, that, you know, that is a big deal to me as well. So I appreciate everything Courage has done for me and what they continue to do for women. Yeah, I mean, it was a huge deal.
Now, you did mention that you just recently lost the title. So, is getting the title back on the agenda?
I mean, I would hope so, but I mean, being the champion is a really big responsibility, right?
Right.
And so like if I get another shot at the title, great. If I don't, I mean, maybe one of my students will, and that would mean a lot to me as well.
Ooh. So it does kind of seem like the school is main priority right now, correct?
Oh, definitely, yeah. Yeah.
Oh. And has any of your students graduated to, actual events? I believe a couple of them was on 365, correct?
Yes. So quite a few of my students are wrestling around. None of them are quite on their own yet, except for Ryder Furlong. She's out doing her own thing. She can take bookings and wrestle wherever. But they're on quite a few different shows and getting out there and getting exposure. And I just want them to be ready when we're like, okay, you're good to go. Do your own thing, you know?
Right. Now, you met Lenny Pavo. Can you tell us about that experience?
I met him at a trivia night in Niagara Falls.
Interesting.
He was a nice enough guy, but very like wanted to sit with the ladies and, you know, wanted to talk to us all night. But, you know, he was nice. I don't, honestly, that was like 8 years ago, so I don't really remember that much about it. It was one time for like a couple hours.
Gotcha. But you was able to work with Sara Del Rey and Awesome Kong, correct?
Yes.
I mean, those are two really big names in pro wrestling in general. So what was it like working with them?
So I was super nervous. I believe I was only 17. Maybe I just turned 18 when I wrestled Sara Del Rey. I was extremely nervous because I was very good friends with Portia Perez. And so I was studying the Shimmer Girls all the time. And Sarah, in my opinion, is one of the best wrestlers ever on earth, male or female. So I was super nervous to wrestle her. I had met her before, and she was like one of the nicest people I had met in the industry. So that made it a little bit easier wrestling her, but I was like really nervous. We had a 4-way. I had a lot of fun. I only got to do a couple of things with her, but you know, she was really nice to me. Kong was awesome. I got to work with her at Anime North. I think I was like maybe 19 or 20, still really young. She actually hung out with my mom all weekend. So, yeah, my mom loves her and always talks about her, but she was like super funny, really nice girl. You know, was happy to work with all of us. So, you know, it was an experience that like a lot of people now don't get experiences like that. So I was lucky. I was very lucky to get to work with both of them.
You mentioned Anime North. I know that they're known for making character matches. So was you a character in Anime North?
So Anime North, they haven't done wrestling since 2018. That was the last year they did it. I was usually Sailor Moon and Harley Quinn every single year, and I wrestled there for about 12 years.
Are you a Sailor Moon fan?
I was when I was growing up. Yeah, I think like most little girls that were born in the 90s love Sailor Moon.
Is she? The question here is Sabrina or Usagi?
Oh, you mean Serena?
I keep forgetting it's different in Canada. It was Sabrina
So-
in America.
It would have been Serena, because that's what I watched.
Okay.
But I also read the comics. I actually have them, the graphic novels, and she was Usagi in those. So I don't know. I bet Serena because that's what I grew up with.
Fair enough. Right. You wrestled Alley Cat as well. Now Alley Cat, what was that experience like? Because she's obviously really big on the independence now as well.
Yeah, that was, I want to say 2019. It was kind of before she blew up on the independents. She was really nice. We had a good match. She was easy to talk to. I'd work with her again.
Right. Can you tell us the advantages and disadvantages of wrestling your significant other?
Well, so Jeff is one of my favorite opponents. We have tons of chemistry in the ring. He trained at the same time as around the same time as me, 2003 to 2005 time, right? So like our work is similar. The way we think about pro wrestling is very similar. We can both call on the fly, which is something a lot of people can't do anymore. It's easy. There's no stress. I don't have to worry about anything. I know he's going to do his job and I'm going to do my job. The only disadvantage is when we do hardcore matches, our son sees, one of us get hit with a chair or whatever, but that's about it. There's like not really any other disadvantage to working with him.
Why is mommy hitting daddy with a chair?
Yeah, pretty much.
That being said, what is something you want your son to see when you're in the ring wrestling?
Well, not just necessarily when I'm in the ring wrestling, but like wrestling was my dream. It's what I wanted to do. I now own a studio. I'm training people to wrestle. I'm living my dream. I want him to be able to do the same thing. I would hope that I'm a good role model for him, and Jeff is definitely a good role model for him. So he's seeing us do what we always wanted to do. So I hope that pushes him to do whatever he wants to do.
Alright. And Mick Foley actually sang happy birthday to him, correct?
Yes. Well, dude loved it.
As a mom, how does that make you feel? Like, what was that experience like?
So, my son's favorite wrestler is Mick Foley. Well, Cactus Jack, but Mick Foley. And we took him to a meet and greet in Brantford, and he didn't know why he was going. He had his Cactus Jack outfit on. He didn't know why we were going. And then Mick Foley walked around the corner and he was like, oh my gosh, Mick Foley's here. So we did the meet and greet, and Foley spent about 20 minutes during the meet and greet with my son, just taking photos, taking selfies on his phone, talking to him, making him feel really important and special. And then during his stand-up set, he brought him on stage saying happy birthday to him. And then he actually brought him on stage a second time for his Q&A. And my son asked him a question on the microphone, and Foley answered it. And then Foley asked him a question on the microphone, and then my son answered. It was incredible as a parent because you couldn't ask for your kid to have a better role model, someone that they really want to meet, than Mick Foley. He's probably one of the nicest people ever in professional wrestling and just like in the world in general. So for him to take that time out and spend that time with my son was a really big deal to me. It also was incredible because my son has ADHD and he's very shy. He doesn't usually open up to people or talk to people. But when Foley started talking to him, it was like who's this kid? And he was talking to him. He'd go up on stage after the show. He was like running around and like would just run up to Foley and talk to him. So I was like, he's a really special person. He also, I gave him a t-shirt with our logo on it. He put the t-shirt on and took photos with fans with a t-shirt with my school logo on it. He was just a stand-up guy. And, I couldn't, like I said, I couldn't ask for my son to, idolize anyone other than him.
That's completely awesome. That really is. Alright, I think it's a good time to segue into our next segment. Sabrina Kyle's Bizarre Adventure. You're a pro wrestler that goes up and down the roads and weird, crazy, and bizarre things are bound to happen. Can you tell us a road story that fits that description?
So I did the Northern tours.
Oh, Tony Candelo.
And no, I did the ones with Ernie Todd.
Okay.
So we did like the most northern tip of Quebec. We flew out there and we got stranded because of fog and other things. But when you're on those tours, like people think it's real and we needed police escorts to get back to our hotel. But when we were on one of those tours, I took my own vehicle and I had a Lincoln Town Car Executive Series, not the type of car you're taking on these roads. And my airbags went on the James Bay Highway and we were like basically riding on the ground for hours until we could get into a town to get it fixed. And my catalytic converter started on fire also on the James Bay Highway. On those tours, I had like 4 tires blow. It was insane. Like all throughout the 2 months we went out for a month and then we came back and then we went out for a month again. So it was like those tours were crazy. Also, we had like just randomly we were stuck there on one of the roads because there was a bear just sitting in the middle of the road and like we couldn't go anywhere.
There was just a bear on the road?
Yeah, because we're so up north, right? There's like nothing. When you get onto the James Bay Highway, you actually have to go in, check in with patrol, give them all your information, who's in your car, say that you filled up your tank of gas because there's nowhere to fill up. How many people are in the car, when you're coming back, because people go missing all the time, right? Because there's nothing out there. So it was an experience. It was an experience.
I could definitely say so. That definitely sounds like a bizarre adventure to say the least.
Yeah.
Right. Now you are Sabrina Kyle. Are you? I'm assuming that is a play on Selina Kyle, Batman fan.
Yes, I like Batman. I also like Sabrina the Teenage Witch. That's where Sabrina came from.
Okay.
But I'm talking about like the TV show on ABC in like the early 2000s, late 90s, not the Netflix show.
The Melissa Joe Hart.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about your love of Batman?
So I've always liked Batman. When I was young and we went to run a movie, I always rented Batman the movie with Adam West and Burt Ward. Always. I was a huge animated series fan. I loved Harley Quinn. I still love Harley Quinn. I have a Harley Quinn tattoo. But yeah, I've always loved Batman. And then as I got older, I really loved Batman and Batman Returns with Michael Keaton, the Tim Burton ones. Those are my 2 favorites. But I could watch anything with Michael Keaton in it. But yeah, like I've always loved Batman. I don't know why. I saw it when I think I was about 5 when I saw Batman Forever, and then I just like fell in love with it.
Batman Forever, that's the one with
Val Kilmer.
Val Kilmer. Probably the worst.
Yeah.
Batman.
No, Batman and Robin is the worst Batman. The one with George Clooney.
I like the one with George Clooney.
Yeah, it's the worst. I watch all of them. I have a giant poster of Batman and Robin. When you walk in my house, there's a giant poster board photo, and then I also have it's about 5 feet by 4 feet wide, and it was a Subway poster for Batman Returns in Toronto, and I bought it for $40 off someone. It's worth like $6.50.
Wow.
And it's just in my hallway, and I have a lot of collectibles. I collect toys, so there's quite a few Batman collectibles downstairs.
Well, we'll talk about the collectibles in a minute. What is the best Batman movie? And we are including the animated ones as well.
Okay, so for me, it's a toss-up between Batman Mask of the Phantasm. Love that movie. But Batman Returns is probably my favorite Batman movie ever. Michelle Pfeiffer's so awesome. Danny DeVito's great. Like, it's just, like, it looks so cool. And it's not and it's not for kids, right?
Michelle Pfeiffer definitely doesn't get enough credit for her Catwoman. She was the not as much.
She was the
indeed.
She was the best Catwoman. Eartha Kitt is also a Catwoman that I really liked. But Michelle Pfeiffer is my favorite Catwoman.
How did you feel about the last Batman movie?
Which one?
The one with the Twilight vampire guy, Patrick something.
Oh gosh. Yeah, so I went to see it. I did not like it. It started out like a horror movie, and then it just dragged on, and the music when he came on set sounded like Darth Vader's music mixed with Batman's music. I did not like it at all.
And Zoe Kravitz as Catwoman?
Yeah, I just wasn't a fan. I wasn't a fan of the entire thing. And like, I didn't mind Ben Affleck, his Batman. I didn't mind Christian Bale. Like, I'm not like a Batman snob. I just didn't like it. It didn't seem like a Batman movie to me at all.
Fair enough. But I mean, anytime we give the option for the animated movies, 9 out of 10 people say Mask of the Phantasm.
Yeah. We actually, when Jeff and I started dating, he took me to see it at the Apollo Theater in Kitchener. They show old movies all the time, so I actually got to see it in the theater.
That is awesome.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Like, when people ask me, who's the best Batman? I always go to, the animated voice.
Oh yeah. For me, it's Michael Keaton. He's Batman.
Yeah. Right. Can you tell us about your collection of collectibles? Because there's a lot of different kinds.
Yeah. So, all right. So I collect Funkos, but only Funkos that I like. So I have like a ton of Beetlejuice Funkos, Nightmare Before Christmas Funkos. We have wrestling Funkos. I have the little Stay Puft Marshmallow Man Funkos, horror ones. I also collect Living Dead dolls, but only specific characters. So I have Jack Torrance from The Shining and Alex from A Clockwork Orange. I have a whole case downstairs. It's just horror stuff. I collect Chucky stuff. Chucky's my favorite out of all the slashers. Specifically Bride of Chucky. That's my favorite. One of my favorite movies. So I have a ton of that stuff. I also like Bride of Frankenstein. So I have a lot of Bride of Frankenstein stuff. I have a whole case for Harley Quinn and Batman. Elvira. I have a lot of Elvira stuff. And then we have a ton of Hasbros, like the WWF Hasbros. And then just wrestling figures in general are all over the place. And then I have some vintage stuff like vintage lamps, vintage Halloween decorations, vintage like a record player that it's pretty big. You can use it as a shelf. Yeah, I like a lot of stuff, and why not have stuff that I like? But my main collections are horror movies, Beetlejuice, Nightmare Before Christmas, and Halloween stuff.
Oh, well, let's get into the Funko Pops first. Is there, you said just like the ones you like. Is there like the more rare ones, or are they more just, the casual ones you could get?
So what I mean by that is if like, so like like I said, I have a bunch of Beetlejuice ones, right?
Right.
So if a new Beetlejuice one comes out, I'm going to try and buy it.
Okay.
I have some other Tim Burton, like Edward Scissorhands and stuff, or like the wrestling ones. Like, but if they're wrestlers that I don't really care for, then I'm not going to buy it.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not a big Funko Pop guy, and yet I still have like 10. I don't even know why.
So our collection is worth about 5,000 US.
Wow.
I have an app and I log them all. Every time I get one, I have to scan it and put it in the app, or I don't know what I have. That's how many we have. I did get the Countess from American Horror Story. Jeff got that for me for our anniversary. Was it our anniversary last year? I think so. No, it was Valentine's Day this year. I lie. But she was like $95 to get, and she's worth a little bit more on the app.
That's crazy.
Yeah, but like I said, like I'm not like, oh, I need to have that. I need to have that. If I see one and I don't have it and it's cool and it's reasonably priced, then I'll grab it. But other than that, I'm not one of these people that's just going to spend $400 on toys or a toy.
Now let's get into the wrestling collection, because you have more than a few action figures as well. Which is your favorite?
My Fabulous Moolah.
Ooh.
I actually have two because I was on the hunt for one, as it was like 300 on was it eBay? Yeah, and I was like, I'm not paying that. And I found one on Marketplace for $30, and I bought it. And then someone else sold me one for, I think he sold it to me for like $15, and they're both in the package.
Wow.
Yeah, so I have two. I have one at my school and one here. I have quite a few wrestling figures at my school. I do have a custom figure of myself that somebody made for me as a gift at a show. And it's really cool. So I have that up at the school.
I mean, that's awesome, having your own action figure. What does that mean to you?
Well, when I got it, I just couldn't believe the likeness. Like, he did such a great job on it. And, it's like a big deal that somebody took the time to make that for me. Right? Like, yeah. I also have an LJN, one of my friends, Joe Dog. He does, I think it's Refrub. It's on my, my wrestling account, but, he made a custom Sabrina Kyle LJN, which was really cool.
That is really cool. The LJNs don't get, as much, love nowadays.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of them, but that one's cool. We have a couple, like we have the Terry Funk and a Kamala and a Mr. Fuji, but we don't have I don't go out of my way to buy them.
I gotcha. Is there something that you have your eye on right now that you don't have in your collection but you want to add?
No. I just kind of see things and then I buy them. I went to B&K Collectables yesterday and was looking at some Funkos in there. There's a new Ozzy Osbourne Funko that I was like, that's cool. And then there's like a 2-pack with, I think it's Paul Bearer and The Undertaker. So that's a cool one. They'd be cool to add to the collection.
Well, you have such a big collection of, figures in, boxes. And, we've been talking about your son. Is there any fear that he's just going to grab them and just start opening them?
No, he's 9. He knows not. He has collectibles in his room. He has Funkos and he has some figures in his room that are in the box. He knows not to open them.
Okay.
But when other people's kids are around, I'm like, don't touch that.
Yes. Alright, I think it's time for the colossal question. Let's say that they're making a movie about you. A big blockbuster production. Every movie has a soundtrack. What would be the first 3 songs on the Sabrina Kyle movie soundtrack?
Adrenalize Me by In This Moment. I can never remember the name of songs. Hold on.
Getting out your Google machine.
Analyzed by In This Moment. Gospels of Fear by Septic Flesh.
Okay.
And Paradise by the Dashboard Light by Meatloaf.
Alright. Solid 3 picks there. Now that we got the soundtrack down, it's on to the second most important thing in a movie, casting. Who would play Sabrina Kyle? And you can't say yourself because you're obligated to make a Stan Lee-esque cameo.
Oh man. I don't even know the name of like actresses anymore. All right. I would say Christina Ricci, but like Christina Ricci in the 90s.
Okay, we could get the CGI.
Like it's in the late, like no, in the early 2000s, like when she did Sleepy Hollow.
Gotcha. All right. Now that we have Sabrina Kyle casted, who would be 3 people in your movie that has significance in your life? And if we could cast them as well, that would be great.
Okay, so my partner Jeff, which would be Jonah Hill.
Okay.
Because Jonah Hill, the movie that just came out with him, You People, I think that's what it's called, that was on Netflix.
Yeah.
He looks just like Jeff. Like people were messaging me being like, is this like, he looks just like Jeff. He stole Jeff's look. So him, Lenny Lilac, I don't even know who I would get to play Lenny Lilac. Again, I don't know anybody. Danny DeVito, just because it's funny. He's not that short, but it would be funny. And then the third person would be Ryder Furlong. And I don't know who I would get to play her. Alexis Arquette, if she was still alive, would play Ryder Furlong. That's it.
Alright. This is sounding like an awesome movie. And you could pre-order the tickets now. Now, you can confirm that you are a Canadian from Canada, correct?
Yes.
We are very much foodies on the show. Where is the best poutine in Canada?
So I like when I make my own poutine, but it would be Smoke's Poutineery, I think.
That's usually the consensus is smokes.
Yeah, smokes is pretty good.
But how are you making your own poutine? What's going into that?
Well, it's just cheese curds, gravy, and fries, but it's like the cheese you use, right? Or like the fries you buy.
Okay, so we're not changing the recipe somewhat.
No, not really, no.
Alright. And is Canada's greatest national treasure Ryan Reynolds?
No.
Then who is?
John Candy.
Alright. Have not heard John Candy's name yet. That's awesome.
Yeah.
We usually, if it's not Ryan Reynolds, it's either Bret Hart or what is his name? Wayne Gretzky.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. I guess Dan Aykroyd would be up there, too.
Alright. Now on to a controversial subject. Pineapple on pizza. What's your stance?
I mean, I would eat it. I don't really care. I'll eat it. But I wouldn't order it, but I would eat it.
So, more leaning towards anti.
I guess. Kind of impartial.
Fair enough. Alright. What's your spirit Pokemon?
Pardon?
What's your spirit Pokemon?
Okay, so I'm not like a big Pokemon fan at all, but I guess I would say Eevee because I know what it is.
Fair enough. Now we
Or Jigglypuff. Or Jigglypuff.
Okay. Alright. Love Jigglypuff. Now we love the late great Tracy Smothers on the show. Do you know the acronym for THUG? THUG.
No.
T is for terrible, H is for hell, U is for ugly, and G is for jail, cause a Doug can't spell. Now, weirdest question you'll be asked on a wrestling interview, hopefully. Would you ever consider wrestling a Rock? Not Dwayne Johnson, not the country, an actual physical Rock.
No, because I have too much respect for Jim Cornette, and he would bury me.
I love that answer. Well, for context, there's this wrestler named Psycho Mike that wrestled an actual Rock for over 15 minutes.
Yeah, I'm aware.
Oh, so you're aware of Backyard Pro.
Yes, I'm not a fan of it. I know everybody involved, obviously, because they're all from the GTA. But it wasn't I never watched it. I wasn't a fan.
Alright, fair enough. I can understand it's an acquired taste for some. Alright, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Hopefully watching my students on television.
That's an awesome answer. And what is a match people should go out of their way to see that best shows off what you are all about?
Like one of my matches?
Yeah.
Okay, so there's two. I did a no holds barred match with Jeff. It's a 20-minute. It's on the 365 channel. So Jeff Black versus Sabrina Kyle. And then there's another match. It's not out yet. It hasn't been released yet because it just happened. But Sabrina Kyle and Daddy Davis in an I Quit match at Courage Pro Wrestling. It was probably my top 3 favorite matches I've ever had. And he is one of the most underrated people, in my opinion. Daddy Davis is one of the best wrestlers I've ever stepped into a ring with.
And we could find the match with Jeff on 365's YouTube page?
Yes.
Okay, I will go onto their page and I will find the match, and I will put the link to the match in the description of the video below, but on YouTube and Castbox, for anybody that hasn't seen it, wants to see it, wants to re-see it after this interview. Alright, and since we are nearing the conclusion of this interview, we are wrestling with the 8 questions of doom.
Dun, dun, dun.
This is our speed round, our bonus round, the round where we see who you really are. Are you ready? Hello?
Hello?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
This is our speed round, our bonus round, the round where we see who you really are. Are you ready?
Yes.
Excluding yourself, greatest wrestler of all time.
Bobby Eaton.
Worst wrestler.
Worst wrestler. Stacy Keibler.
If your main event in WrestleMania for the World Championship, who is your opponent?
Trish Stratus.
If you could come out to anyone's entrance music, past or present, who would it be?
Lita.
Sweet. Finish the sentence. Kayfabe is...
Alive and well.
You would have also accepted taste great on toast. Squash. Vegetable or fruit?
Vegetable.
It is indeed a fruit. Tomato logic. It has seeds.
Okay.
But you're part of Squash Squad now, that means more. Alright, New Japan wrestler Taichi. His ring gear gets smaller every year, revealing more of himself to the world. My question, what is the appropriate trunks to butt cheek ratio for ring gear?
I think your butt should be covered. Your butt shouldn't be eating your gear.
So, complete coverage.
Yeah, I completely cover my butt.
Okay. And the main event, the last question, the thing everybody wants to know. Have you ever had a conversation with a stranger in a supermarket about Darby Allin?
No. I don't talk about that guy at all, ever.
And that is the correct answer. And that will conclude this interview. Thank you so much for coming on and doing this with me.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And once again, where can we find all things Sabrina Kyle on social media?
Just look up the Blood Countess Sabrina Kyle. I'm on Instagram, TikTok. I am on Facebook. I am on Twitter, but I don't use it very often.
And how can we find your merchandise again?
It'll be listed on my socials. There are t-shirts on Pro Wrestling Tees under Sabrina Kyle. Or come to a show, say hi, and grab something.
And if people want to be trained by Sabrina Kyle, how can we find Off the Rope Studio as well?
offtheropes.ca, Off the Rope Studio on Instagram, Off the Rope Studio on Facebook, Off the Rope Studio on TikTok, or you can send an email to offtheropestudio@hotmail.com.
And you don't even have to type it into your Google machine. All of the links to all her social media, merchandise, and school will be in the description of the video below, but on YouTube and Castbox. Simply click the link and your tab will appear on whatever device you are on. You have no excuse. Buy a damn shirt. Plus, thank you for listening. If you like what we're doing, please like, subscribe, comment, but on YouTube and Castbox. This was sponsored by World Energy and Player One Coffee. Join us next Tuesday and Wednesday for new incredible interviews. Follow the show at Wrestling with E, both on Twitter and Instagram for information on who we're interviewing, when we're interviewing them, links to those interviews, and so much more. Follow me personally at JamesG993. Alright, Sabrina, when I say wrestling with, you say entertainment, okay?
Okay.
For our very special guest, Sabrina Kyle, Kaliko Yacht, Scooter Dust, I'm James J, and this has been Wrestling with
Entertainment.
Hey folks, this is the Colossal Mike Law, and you are listening to Wrestling with Entertainment. Enjoy the show, support these guys. We appreciate it very much. We'll see you at ringside.